In any case, it's our hope that today's session will provide information, a rich discussion, and links to resources available to spur you to promote youth engagement and employment in agriculture and food systems, and as well as remind you of the excellent work of the UN Committee on Food Security, including the voluntary guidelines on governance of tenure, responsible agricultural investment, and on the food security and nutrition. You'll see we'll also provide, of course, information to these guidelines. But I'd also like to acknowledge the member states who have joined us today, and of course, the leaders in youth engagement. We thank you a lot. Your time is precious. So thank you for dedicating it here. Again, I invite you all to introduce yourself in the chat. And please feel free to share where you are joining us from and any highlights, relevant highlights, or initiatives promoting youth engagement and employment in agriculture and food systems. But to start off this conversation, it's my pleasure to invite opening remarks from the Director General of the Private Sector Mechanism of the UN Committee on Food Security, Ms. Robin Anderson. Robin, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Rosemary. It's a pleasure to join all of you here today. It's a great honor for me to serve as the Director General for the Private Sector Mechanism of the UN Committee on Food Security. This event today is a very special youth dialogue. It is not just private sector, it is youth who are students, it is youth who are aspiring to their future lives as farmers, as people in the food service sector, as people in the digital sphere, as people who will be public researchers and agronomists and agricultural extension officers. And we need each and every one of the young people interested in the agri-food sector to be part of our future plans. That's because right now we're at a critical moment where we need a new generation of experts and passionate people who care about how our food system operates, how our food is produced. And with this in mind, the UN Committee on Food Security has created a unique opportunity to discuss global policy guidelines for how to get youth talent recruited into the agri-food sector, how to encourage employment in the agri-food sector. And so we welcome all of you today to discuss what ways that we can do more to encourage that. We're going to have a series of case studies that will allow us to hear a little bit about new programs in both Asia and in Europe, where there's that chance to engage youth. We need to talk about how we can scale those up, what other gaps exist in those programs, and make sure that there's a real opportunity to have as many brilliant young people involved as possible. All this work is being led under the UN Committee on Food Security and chaired by Ambassador Pio Webbenust from Switzerland. He was intending to join us today, but unfortunately was not able to due to an alternate commitment. The CFS is going to be having a special session later today on the global food crisis that's occurring. And he was not able to join, but does send his well wishes. And all of the work that we're doing on these dialogues in different regional areas will be coming together to make a set of recommendations we will share with the CFS, and the CFS will then carry on these policy discussions to help create a really meaningful set of global guidance that all countries can use to think about how do we get youth into agriculture by looking at land tenure issues, into the rest of the food system through great educational initiatives, and how to build a community of young people who are inspired by our food system and by the ways in which they want to change and adapt it. So with that in mind, I'd like to remind you all, please be very active in the chat. Throughout, we want to hear who you are. Put your introductions into that chat, as Rosemary said. Feel free to put notes and comments in there and questions. And we're going to have some very special presentations and then a panel discussion about the case studies that we've heard. So please feel free to raise your hand. We'll look forward to getting your comments into the conversation. And without further ado, I'd like to invite our moderator, Mr. Chaka Awal, who is the Minister Counselor from Indonesia, a great active part of the CFS community, who intervenes very effectively on behalf of the Asia Group and on behalf of his country and the work that you do in agri-food. And we welcome the representatives of other member states who are here with us today, including a number of the European countries. So over to you, Chaka. Great pleasure to have you here. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Robin, for the kind introduction. Friends, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, like Robin said, I do encourage the conversation to keep going and invite any questions to be posted in the chat. In the next segment, we are pleased to have an excellent selection of case studies and discussion panel to discuss the issue of promoting youth engagement and employment in agriculture and food systems with a focus on Europe and Asia. Without further ado, now let's go to the first case study. The first case study will come from 4H Korea on Korea 4H program for rural youth and young farmers in Korea. Let us now turn our focus in the case study. Please.
I'm Byung-ho Kim, Director at Korea 4H. It is my honor being able to share with you some of our Korea 4H programs. Korea 4H is a non-profit organization and we are in charge of various 4H activities in Korea under Korean 4H Activities Act. We work closely with the government agency, RDA, to provide capacity building programs to teenagers and young farmers. Korea 4H targets 3 groups. We have student 4H clubs, college 4H clubs, and young farmers 4H clubs. For student 4H members, we provide experience-based programs such as plant and vegetable gardening. By doing so, we aim to increase their awareness and interest in agriculture. We also provide activities on ICT and big data so that teenagers can be familiar with post-industrial revolution technologies such as smart farm and digital agriculture. College 4H programs are more toward career development. We guide the college members to find their career path in agriculture and agri-food. Our training program is comprised of how to run a startup business, what are important business mindsets, and what need to be done on site. For our 4H young farmers, we provide pilot business programs and idea execution projects. Through young farmers capacity building programs, we help our young farmers to execute their idea on the field, and we provide them with leadership training. They are also asked to participate in volunteering activities for teenagers and the elderly. Through various 4H activities, we could invite more young farmers and college students into our members. Research also shows that our student 4H members have higher understanding on agriculture than non-4H members. Korea 4H will continue to provide various trainings and activities to support the youth and young farmers and to make our agriculture more sustainable. Thank you for listening.
Hamida, thank you so much for H Korea for the inspirational work. Now let's go to the second case study. The next case study will come from i4Nature on empowering the green generation. Let us now turn our focus on the case study, please.
We are facing one of the biggest challenges in history. Our Earth is drying up.
And human resources are like natural resources. They're often buried deep.
Danke. Thank you. Thank you from Eye for Nature. Now let's go to the third case study. This case study will come from Climate Social Forum Italy on engagement of the youth to SDGs. Now let's turn to the video. Thank you.
Hi to all, I'm Domenico Vito. I'm a climate activist and observer at the COPs from Italy. I'm also the coordinator of the Climate Social Forum. This is the initiative that I'm going to present today. Actually, the Climate Social Forum is a virtual agora that was born in 2020 because there was no negotiation, unfortunately, regarding climate change. And with a group of activists, we decided to create a space that has been virtual to talk and continue foster the message on climate crisis and social crisis. This was important also to address agriculture. And in fact, we decided to talk about agriculture using a Talanoa dialogue. So actually, we addressed several speak on climate smart agriculture, mitigation through agriculture, and how we can implement as youths a sustainable solution regarding also the food system. So it's very important that we create also virtual spaces for talking for youths about this solution, because only sharing experience and only talking we can in a way implement and make the sustainable agriculture real. Actually, I want to share some of the positive outcomes that the Climate Social Forum has done. From our talks, from our virtual agora, we create some output documents that basically are resuming all the solutions and the proposals that are coming from sustainable agriculture and for tackling climate change. Actually, these solutions are available on our website and have been implemented also by several associations that has joined the Climate Social Forum. So in this way, we also launch a series of webinars and initiatives to talk also to high school students how sustainable agriculture can be a future for their work and also their activity. So thank you for having me, and have a nice continuation of the forum. Thank you very much.
Thank you, grazie mille. Colleagues, friends, now we have seen 3 case studies, exceptional work from all of them. Now, let's go to the panel discussion. I'm now pleased to invite our excellent panel for an interactive segment. They are available to answer your questions and respond to your intervention. We would like to hear about what you think is needed, to build on these examples and further youth engagement. We ask you to raise your hand and feel free to put questions in the chat function, and we will try to include as many of you as possible. Our panel will be composed of Mr. Byung Ho Kim, Director, Education and Research Department of and Ong Young Lee, Vice Secretary General of Korea 4-H Association 4-H Korea. And then Ms. Silke Remnitz, Project Manager, I4Nature, and Mr. Domenico Vito, Climate Social Forum. Now, I open the floor if colleagues, friends wants to raise questions or issues, taking into account the presentation or the case studies that have been presented. Please, colleagues.
Ryan has raised his hand.
Okay, can I give the floor to Mr. Ryan Zhongli, please, Mr.
Thank you very much, Chair. Hello, everyone. My name is Ryan Zhongli. I'm the China representative of Young Professionals for Agricultural Development, or we can call it YPART. I'm also the International Cooperation Program lead at the Center for International Agricultural Research of the Chinese Academy of Agricultural Sciences. I'm really excited to learn that there are so many organizations has proposed so many good cases to support the youth participation in international agriculture governance. So this is also what we do. This is also what we do at YPART and also at CIR of CUS. So this year, my two organizations are working together with FAO to co-host a youth innovation hackathon on the topic of reducing food waste and loss. So during the preparation of our event, I found it is easier to raise attention of young researchers or those with better educations. But we want to make more inclusive, or we want to invite the farmers to participate in our event. But this is relatively difficult to call their attention. So we found that the wisdom of the farmer from all over the world are very valuable, and it could also enlighten the innovation to this, reducing food and waste loss theme. So the improvement of the capability of young farmers is the key to build a more resilient agriculture system. So my question is, how can we encourage and attract more young farmers to join the event like you guys proposed, and also we can have opportunity to listen to their stories? Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Ryan, for the excellent questions. Now, as I don't see other questions, I have a question here in the chat. The question from Augusto Akira. The young people that go to farms in South Korea are from cities. How long does they stay in farm? I think it is important to raise awareness in the way people get to know and work behind a nice fruit in the market itself. Okay, those are the two questions. Now I turn to the panelists. Who wants to begin? Can I start with Korea 4-H, please?
In Korea 4-H, we try to give many opportunities for young kids to have they learn agriculture with gardening, or some exciting programs within in the rural area. So they can learn, and also they can have some interest in agriculture. That is very important, and also very difficult matter for us. And we also trying to develop how the young people they have fun with those things. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Now, Silke, do you have some views?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you also, Ryan, for asking that question. I think it's a very interesting question that we deal with daily as well at i4Nature. And also very personal question for me as well. I studied agriculture, and last week we had a coming back of our class. And then most of our class became farmers, and a lot of these farmers were like, yeah, but why would we talk at like political events? Because those people, they don't listen to us anyway. They're only like hating on us, all sorts of bans and things that we have to think about, CO2 reduction. So I think it's like really important that we get this conversation going between farmers and high level political events to like really see that we're on the same level. All that we want to do is like, we want to get the same things out of it. We want to make this world better. We want to get more people involved in agriculture and food systems. So I think it's really important that we like get on more of an eye level, make a lot of high level events, like probably the events that you're hosting and joining as well, more to an eye level with people on the ground as well, so that we could like stimulate conversations, so that we could stimulate more people coming to these events and showing that we really care and that we're there to help. I think is really key in getting more people involved. But I hope this answers your question.
Thank you, Silke. Domenico, do you have any opinion?
Yes, thank you very much, and thank you also for the question. So first of all, what we did in Climate Social Forum is to create properly, as Silke was mentioning, the open space, so the place where decision maker can encounter also the farmers directly. And this was the first way to like avoid the barriers, maybe also the prejudice that can be between the two categories, and also make the young farmers actors and give them space to talk of their activity. We asked them, for example, to send us videos of their activities that we can showcase in our YouTube channel, in our discussion and so on. We also interview them, so to make to feel them like very engaged into the process. And I think that this can help to build the trust bond that can also let the network of farmers involved. And then third, address the network of farmers and young farmers. If you are talking with the networks of young farmers and you involve them, you can have more probability also to engage the youths directly from the field. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the excellent opinion and answer. I look into the chat. I saw Mr. Wakar from FUAIT from Pakistan would like to share something. Mr. Wakar, are you still here? Please, sir.
Yes. Can you hear me? Yes. I'm Wakar from Pakistan, and currently I'm serving as assistant professor in Free University. It's just I write abbreviation, CAFUT, in Pakistan. So basically the subjects what I'm teaching are agribusiness, agri-marketing, and kind of stuff. And our core focus as our country, the whole world is facing, the challenges of food nutrition, and particularly the, we can say in the recent crisis, political crisis. We should, normally we should not talk about the politics, but sometimes, yes, we cannot unconcern, particularly the Russia-Ukraine conflict and the food security crisis, the fuel crisis. Fuel prices are rising. India has banned on the wheat, and these are the challenges that we are facing. So how, being as a young scientist, we can compete, we can share ideas or what we can do in a current situation. as a teacher, recently, last week I organized a seminar about the business, how young people can be engaged in the agribusinesses, and to make them make it profitable, because if the university graduates at that time, they are more focused towards the jobs, but due to the current scenario, due to the current challenges, there are the problems in industry as well. So how we can promote or encourage the students to be a startup, to be an entrepreneur? That can be an answer, because our institution already facing the challenges. So rather than the young people looking for the towards the industry or the government, they should go towards their own businesses. As I told last week, I organized a seminar, a very good seminar about how to develop a business plan. And our my core you can say my core objective or idea was that the student must have established the business while still in the university. Like agriculture, BS agriculture program is a 4-year. So if they are in the second semester, third, fourth, still they have 2 years or 3 years. So they can go towards the business and establish their own businesses, and they contribute towards the economy rather than being the burden on the economy. So that is my idea. We can in one way, the entrepreneurship or the startup can be an key towards livelihood for the young people while staying in agriculture, agribusiness. So we can more precisely say agribusiness entrepreneurship can be an answer towards that. And government, our policymakers, our young scientists can think about that. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Waqar. I would encourage colleagues to raise their hand if they have something to ask or to and also, of course, to give opinions too. In the meantime, I saw in the chat from Bin Liang, in 4H website, I saw the activities named Rural Urban Exchange. I'm curious about the content of these activities, agriculture skill exchange. Okay, I think it's for H. Please, for H, if you want to say something.
As you know, so the Korea is the developing country. So mean that the almost more than 90% youth living in the city, mean that they don't know about the rural community. So because they only live in the apartment and city. So there's no chance to experience the rural area. So we have make the rural urban exchange program. So the young people go to the rural area. So in 2 days or 3 days. So during the time, they will understand agriculture and rural life. Through this experience, they can know who are the farmer, and the farm business is the really good business. So we should give them chance to know about the agriculture. So as you see the research, this project and this program have good result. So through this program, the young and youth, the kids know about agriculture.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I hope it's clear enough, and I think it's clear enough. Okay, colleagues, is there any other who wants to ask questions? Please raise your hand. Okay, I saw Mumbi Munene and followed by Diana Lenzi. Okay, Mumbi, please go first.
Thank you so much, and thank you for giving me the floor. Thank you to the panel for what they've done so far. My question is just in relation to how we can support the youth for some of the key challenges they face. So as we've seen, most times youth mention lack of financing or lack of access to land as some of the key issues that they face when they're trying to enter into agriculture and be more engaged. So my question to the panel is how we can support youth in particular with issues of access to land as well as issues of access to finance. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Can Diana Lenzi hold the question, because I want to go for the panelists to answer that question. Please, panelists, who wants to begin? Domenico, perhaps? Please.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much for the question, and thank you also for addressing two very important points. I will bring the experience of my country, and I will try also to generalize also for other situations that I found, for example, from the experience of Climate Social Forum. Regarding Italy, the access to land is quite differentiated, we can say, because unexpectedly, one of the great problems is that some lands are very abandoned nowadays from in my country, and youth or anyone is not caring too much to that, and so we have a lot of lands that are that can be free for being used for agriculture, but no one wants to go into the business. The colleagues before was properly saying that encouraging the youth is also one of the essential points regarding the problem. And so, in a way, there is some, in the north of Italy, there is more the lack of land. But for example, in the south, there are a lot of lands that are abandoned. So there is sort of misdistribution on the access of the land. Regarding other country, I don't know exactly how the bureaucracy will lead to have a land to take care and so on. But what I can see is that the very difficulties are in the business model, and so how to make accountable, for example, for the banks and so on, to let the credits to access the land and so on. But one solution that can be something interesting that I saw experimented in several situation like in India or in Africa, and also sometimes in Italy, is the microcredit. Microcredit is helping you to rise your business with small amount and with the accessibility condition that, for example, for a young that is starting are accessible, rather than maybe other way of financing that are more requesting in the accessibility requirement. So microcredit, for example, can be a way to explore for starting the business activities. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Is there any other comments from Silke or 4H? Okay,
can I just quickly jump on Domenico's answer as well? Thank you for the question. I think it's a very interesting question. And what I think also in what Domenico is saying, there's lots of these opportunities for young people, but a lot of young people don't know about them, or there's lots of funds from the EU as well on starting a farm, or several banks giving out loans for agriculture. But a lot of youth don't know about these loans or these micro funding opportunities. And it's really hard to get into them as well. It's a totally different branch of working and doing your business. So I think it would be very interesting if we could do more on communication on how to get loans and how to get funding, or special lectures at agriculture schools or things like that. I think that would be very interesting for young people.
Thank you. 4H, do you have something to say? Or, yeah.
In Korea nowadays, young farmers is very important in our government policy. So the government will raise 30,000 young farmers. So government, they provide some fund to young farmers, and also some organization, the government organization, they they gives their land, some land to young farmers. So nowadays, Korean government, they are trying to support young farmers to because in rural area there are so many old people. Young farmers are very rare, very small. So to continue our agriculture, our government support young farmers.
Thank you so much. That's very important. Now I have three, and then conscious of the time, I will take the three people at the same time. Hopefully, the question will be quite short and straightforward. Okay, I go first to Diana Lenzi. Please, Diana.
Hello, good day to everyone, and thank you very much for this very interesting debate. I have let's say almost a technical question on how do you involve the young farmers? Because in my experience, farmers tend to be sometimes isolated, don't know of occasions of possibility of socializing together. How is the, let's call it, I don't want to use recruitment process brought through to bring the young farmers to your forums? Do you work with farmer organizations? Have you had successful collaborations in Europe with farmer organizations, being that I represent many of them? I was just curious towards this, because sometimes it can be a very divisive experience, but maybe instead there are some very positive examples that it's important to know and that could be replicated across the continent. Thank you.
Thank you. Now let me go to Jim Khan. Jim, please.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Jim, and I'm just to quickly introduce, I'm a co-author of the HLPA report, and also have been in different aspects or engagements of agriculture across the spectrum. And just to quickly highlight, based on the discussions of engagement, and engagement can be very broad in a sense, on how do we engage young people in agriculture from farm to fork and everything in between, entails a lot of things. But what's really clear and important that we need to emphasize is that when we create programs and when we create structures and mechanisms, it has to be based on the aspirations of young people, such as what we've written in the report. Too many times and too often have programs been designed in such a way that is coming from a top-down approach, in such a way that programs are designed to fit whatever policymakers perceive reality to be on the ground, whereas the reality is different on the ground, where young people are engaged on a daily basis, being exposed to the risks of climate change, the risks of being squeezed in price economies that are very volatile. And so young people are facing these challenges on the ground very differently from how policymakers see it at a high level. And so it's very clear and important that when we talk about programs, when we talk about designing these interventions, it has to be bottom up in such a way that it encapsulates the aspirations and the rights of young people to what they see and how they see food systems should be. So I really hope that, moving forward, even in the next discussions of this very interesting, dialogue, is that we really have to look at how young people's realities on the ground and aspirations have to be incorporated, and has to be the core essence of creating these programs and interventions. So just wanted to put that out and to set that reality as well as and emphasize that. So thank you very much.
Thank you for excellent opinions. Now Mr. Wakar.
Yeah, thank you so much. So taking the words statement from Jimmy that there's a long distance from farm to fork. So there are a lot of places where we can adjust the young people. The lands are limited in our country. If we say, like, when I tried, that's somehow political decision. If I say, like, in my country in previous 20 years, there's only one time there was a government scheme to provide the land to young agri graduates, and I applied for that, and maybe in my home district only one piece of land and maybe 20 or 30 competitors, so I could not get. So the other way to engage the rural youth, maybe in my opinion, can be, between farm and folk, lots of, if not at the production level, maybe at harvesting, distribution, agribusinesses, or the related, sectors we can engage, and the microfinancing. Yeah, that's an excellent way, in my opinion, can be answered to the rural engagement. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Now let's hear the response from the panelists. I think we have one question and two opinions. If you have any response to those question and opinion, please. Who wants to start? Silke, please.
Yeah, thank you for those great questions, and to go into especially the questions of Diana and Jim. I think it's a very simple answer. It seems simple. Just making agriculture attractive and sexy and cool again. I think this is so important and crucial in getting more young people engaged, because how many young people are on Instagram, TikTok, all these platforms, which are great platforms, are communicating and getting the voice out there, but you barely see videos of cool farmers or attractive people or attractive minds and thoughts about all these things. So I think it's very important in also what Jim said is often top down, and often when it comes from top down to these young farmers, it already is a bit dusty. It's not that cool anymore. But I think it's very important if we get young people more involved in also these top down event or these top events, and they say, okay, we have all these cool ideas, these are great ways of thinking, but how can we make this translation gap to young people in making it more attractive and cool for them? So I think it's very important, out of events like these, all these thoughts that come out of these events, or young people looking at these and think okay, we can make this into a TikTok video, or we can make this into an Instagram post that gets a lot of young farmers involved or young people involved.
Thank you. Yeah. Oh, I see Domenico, please.
Thank you very much. And agreeing with Silke, these are very interesting questions that led the way for a great discussion on that. So I will summarize with three key words, the response to all the questions and comments. First of all, I very like the word aspiration. So for the youth, the working on farming need to be something that is cool and they want to do, because maybe they can discover a new way to live with the environment, a new way to live their city. For example, I will mention here a collaboration that we had with a group of urban farmers that it's called Soul Food Forest Farms. And actually this group of guys, they were studying university here in Milan. I'm based in Milan, but then they take out 10 hectares of an abandoned land to make agroforestry, because they want to regenerate the city. And this was cool for them. And also with this idea of regeneration, we can catch a lot of youth, because youth wants now to address the environmental problem and the climate change. Second element, the community. Addressing the community level is essential, because we can discover also youths that they were not aware of maybe deal with agriculture, but maybe having the chance to work together in a community initiative, they can find their new touch with agriculture, and so they are willing to go there, because basically maybe they will not know that agriculture could be a way, as Silke was mentioning. And also working on a community level is essential. Then I will also add another element, culture. So agriculture is also culture, because I will mention here an example of case study. The colleague was mentioning some case studies to address and so on. And once I see this initiative in the south of Italy that was called, in Italian, it's called Saperi Sapori. Basically, it's flavors and knowledge. This is the name of the initiative. And they couple the ancient, traditions with the ancient dishes and the ancient flavor. And this commission can help the youth and the community at all to rediscover the culture related to agriculture. And this is like, I don't know, very inspiring also for the people that want to go there. It's not just working, but it's also rediscovering a culture.
Thank you. Thank you so much. That's very interesting point of view, Domenico. Now, for H, do you have any opinion?
Thank you for very good discussion. We think agriculture is very important. Korea society is already advanced, so some people think in a way of economic. So they think agriculture is not important. We can import food, but actually, agriculture is very important. We have to continue, and also the education of agriculture is also, I think, very important for young people. So for age, we will continue to our project with young people and young farmers. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. With that, I think we can conclude this panel. I thank you so much, Mr. Byung-ho Kim, Mr. En-Yong Lee, Ms. Silke, and Domenico for the excellent presentation and opinions and responding to the questions and opinions coming from the floor, coming from colleagues today. Thank you so much, colleagues. Now let's go to the next segment. Still, I would like to ask you to raise your hand and put questions in the chat, and then we'll try to deal with it in the next segment. But at this point, I would like to hand the floor to Lorenzo Gentile Colotta from the World Forum, the World Food Forum, I should say, who will offer a presentation on the work of the FAO in the World Food Forum. Lorenzo, please.
So thank you very much. Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me here today. My name is Lorenzo Gentile, and I'm the co-lead of the marketing and partnership stream of the World Food Forum. And I'm super happy to be here today to present this youth-led initiative. The World Food Forum was launched in 2021, and it's a youth-led global network of partners that is facilitated by the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations, FAO. And it basically aims to spark a global movement that tries to empower young people everywhere to actively transform our agri-food systems to help achieve the Sustainable Development Goals and possibly a better food future for all. So the WFF basically aims to support and group the youth voice and leadership in the agri-food sector. And we want to work with all of you to strengthen youth voices and make sure youth concerns and actionable solutions are really heard. So as we know, food is the single strongest lever to optimize human health and environmental sustainability on Earth. And today's challenges can and must be met with new, actionable, and innovative solutions. So we have to empower youth who will inherit these challenges to create a better food future for all. So drive awareness, foster engagement and advocacy, and mobilize resources around these issues. The WFF tries to connect youth groups, influencers, companies, academic institutions, nonprofits, governments, media, and the public. And it features a range of interactive online events, networks, and content platforms across the areas of policy, innovation, education, and culture, as you can see here on screen. So in 2021, when we launched, the WFF was able to bring together more than 40,000 young and young at heart people from around the world and over 75 youth and youth allied partners. So the way we implement our activities, as you can see on screen, is through these action tracks, as we call them. The top ones, as you can see, are the solutions tracks, while the bottom ones are the more cultural tracks. So we have a youth action track where we try to provide a dedicated space for youth to discuss agri-food systems policy issues, presenting a united voice through a youth action assembly and a policy compendia, and to identify actionable solutions locally and globally. Then we also have an innovation track where we try to inspire innovation for sustainable development and in support of ending hunger and transforming our agri-food systems through global competitions, hackathons, research challenges, and master classes. Then we have an education track where we try to target school-age children by using knowledge as a key driver for systemic change with students and educators. And then finally, as you can see in the bottom, we have the more cultural tracks, because what we want to do is to try to involve as many youth as possible. And so we also need the fun part to it. So here we try to bring together the world's youth together through the universal language of culture, including music, film, and culinary activities. So as we all know, agri-food systems from production to consumption contribute to 1/3 of total greenhouse gas emissions and methane from waste, and agriculture represents 65% of all human-caused emissions. And at the same time, healthy diets are financially out of reach for more than 3 billion people, and over 30% of the population is overweight or obese. So this is clearly not acceptable, and this is why, to increase action around these urgent topics, the World Food Forum in 2022 will focus on the areas of access to healthy diets and addressing the climate crisis with their slogan, Healthy Diets, Healthy Planet, as you can see here. So the WFF flagship event will take place in early October, from the 17th to the 21st of October, and will act as the culmination of this year's activities and will provide a space for youth to come together in a youth action assembly and through a myriad of dialogues, awards, and cultural celebrations. As you can see here, we have a lot of events planned up throughout the year. But beyond the flagship event, the WFF is meant to be an ongoing youth movement and platform that tries to spark awareness, solutions-based actions, and creativity, and out-of-the-box thinking to accelerate agri-food systems transformation. So I will conclude just by inviting everyone to join the WFF because together we can really strengthen youth voices through the assembly, which is a universal place for youth to express their concerns and actionable solutions. And make sure you're involved. Follow us to be updated. We have a lot of activities that have already launched and some others that will launch in the coming months in the lead up to our flagship event. So I will be putting our link tree in the chat so that you can check out all of our activities, follow us on social media, and subscribe to our newsletter. So that will be it from my side, and over back to the moderator. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lorenzo. And I hope the slides can be shared later on, because the one I saw, it's still stuck in one slide. So
I'm sorry about that. I'm not sure why that happened.
Share in the chat. No worries.
Yeah, I will share. Sure.
Thank you so much, friends, colleagues. Now let's go to the next section. Is about the case studies again. It's about leadership and livelihoods. The fourth case study will come from the Farm of Francesco on answering Pope Francis' call, a global network of demo farms. Now let us turn to the video.
We have only 40 harvests left. Due to soil erosion caused by conventional agriculture practices, every year we lose 12 million hectares due to desertification. This is driven by non-sustainable agriculture practices such as steel farming, intensive monoculture, and the use of chemicals. At the same time, 80% of farmers in developing countries are smallholders, most of them women, who own less than 2 hectares of land. Despite having a key role in achieving global food security and nutrition, they are a vulnerable group who don't have the resources and knowledge to switch to more profitable and sustainable practices of regenerative agriculture.
Those injustices are simply unacceptable. This is why Pope Francis has invited youth from all over the world to take action, convening the economy of Francesco, where the farm of Francesco was born in June 2020.
10 young entrepreneurs, change makers, and farmers representing 8 different countries have answered Pontifex call. We come from diverse backgrounds, have diverse experience and knowledge, but we are gathered around the same commitment, building a new economy by eliminating injustice in agriculture.
Farm of Francesco is a global community of farmers answering Pope Francis' call to hear the cry of the earth and cry of the poor. We invite you to join us in responding to this very call by making our project in Nigeria and elsewhere possible in at least 3 ways. Please, if you have the means, contribute to our work financially so that we can finalize the budget for our project in Nigeria, as well as run our first global farmer community building program. Please, as step number 2, share this project with the others. And step number 3, perhaps most important, is you can take what we are doing to your local territory so that you empower the farmers from your local area, and together with them, in the spirit of solidarity, respond to the Pope Francis. Will you join us on this mission?
La Granja de Francisco.
Gospodarstwo rolne Franciszka.
La Granja de Francisco.
The Farm of Francesco.
La Fattoria di Francesco.
Thank you so much, Farm of Francesco. What a great work. Thank you so much again. The next case study will come from Public Agricultural Research Center, Spain, on financing the next generation, match funding Madrid Kilometer region. Please.
La Unión de Huertas Agroecológicas Madrileñas es una unión de pequeños proyectos de producción agroecológica que se unen en parte por sus propias necesidades y también por la alta demanda que existe en Madrid.
Con la UJAM queremos abastecer una demanda real en la sociedad madrileña de grandes supermercados, grandes colectividades y restaurantes que quieren una producción local y agroecológica.
Individualmente los proyectos no tendríamos capacidad de suministrar a estos mercados y esta unión nos permite producir más conjunto, planificar mejor la producción para poder tener cubierta esa demanda de estos mercados cooperativos.
Queremos diferenciarnos por una producción agroecológica y de cercanía frente a otro tipo de monocultivos intensivos que no respetan ni el medio ambiente ni la salud de los consumidores.
Entendemos que la unión entre diferentes agricultores, pequeños agricultores como nosotros, es ventajosa desde el punto de vista de captar pues clientes que podamos atender entre todos, incluso pues para poder comprar insumos o maquinaria, compartir otros elementos aparte del comercio, ¿no? El espacio en el que estamos es la Huerta de Abril. Aquí trabajamos 4 personas. Tenemos una superficie de 1 hectárea en este terreno y luego tenemos otra huerta más abajo que son 2,5 hectáreas, que es la Huerta de las Flores. Y bueno, la peculiaridad de Bustar Viejo, que es el enclave en el que estamos, es un entorno pues muy limpio, ¿no? Y decidimos en su día buscar un sitio para poder hacer agricultura orgánica donde las condiciones ambientales fueran lo más limpias y mejores posibles. La UJAM es una alternativa real, puesto que ya nos hemos unido 5 huertas de la Comunidad de Madrid. Buscamos que sea justa para nuestro trabajo y también justa para los consumidores, que puedan disfrutar de unos productos orgánicos de cercanía de la máxima calidad a un precio justo para todos.
Somos Tómate la Huerta.
Llevamos cultivando hortalizas en Torremocha de Jarama desde hace 5 años. Ojalá seamos un referente de otros.
And we hope we can become a reference to other projects, and we hope we can prove that things can change and we can respect the environment. My name is Guille, my name is Dani, and we come from Huerta Pepines. We have a farm next to the Jarama River. We have been working on this for 5.5 years, and in total 7 years as farmers. One of the main pillars in our association is to have certain farming practices such as respect for the environment and having decent conditions as farmers. My name is Luis. Our project focuses on the Chorrillo farm, and I am a fourth generation working on this. We are 30 minutes away from the center of Madrid, Puerta del Sol. And the main difference when you look at our products and the products of our colleagues is the quality and the way we produce all of our products. This is the main value, the way we produce. That's why we speak about ecology and agriculture. We have quality products. The products are local and they're produced this way. My name is Pablo from Huerta La Madre Vieja. We've been working here in Cienpozuelos since 2011.
Con esta unión queremos fomentar el consumo local de alimentos.
And we want to promote consuming seasonal products, local agriculture. We want vegetables produced in Madrid to be eaten in Madrid. We want this collective project to become a reality, so we need your support. To do this, we need a lot of coordination work, logistics, and of course, we have a lot of work in our projects, so we need a small financial support. We have been lucky enough to have been selected by a crowdfunding program designed by the Imidra Institute. So if you provide 4,500 euros, they will provide exactly the same amount of money. So your money will be worth twice as much.
Thank you so much for the excellent case study. The next case study comes from Agrea, Philippines, on transformational leadership for gender and youth in agriculture and rural development. Please.
So ito, isa sa mga programs to ng US Embassy na kumukuha sila ng mga youth from war-stricken mga areas para may mga bata na maging interesada sa agriculture. So yun yung main ng agriculture.
yung natutunan niyo dito, you would really re-echo it. Okay? Kasi hindi namin kayang tulungan ng buong Lanao del Sur, but we know we have the best people here right now. So you're our best seeds that we're going to send out back to Lanao del Sur so that you can do more with your community.
Thank you. Thank you so much for such an inspirational program. Colleagues, friends, now let's go again to the panel. I'm now pleased to invite our excellent panel for interactive segment. They are available to answer your questions and respond to your intervention. We would like to hear about what you think is needed to build on these case studies, these examples, and further youth engagement. So I welcome Sherry Atilano from Agria, Mario Gonzalez from Imidra, and Maria Virginia Solis from the farm of Francesco. Now, without further ado, I would like to open the floor. I see Anais Kerjan Martinez. I would like to take the first floor, and then, okay, let's go to Anais first. Thank you. Please.
Thank you very much for giving me the floor. First of all, I wanted to thank you all for the presentations. I think they were really insightful. It was just great projects that have been presented to us. So I am participating here with the EU. So I work with the EU focal points for the next negotiations on youth in the CFS. And for these negotiations, the EU really put an emphasis on the participation and employment of young people with disabilities and how we can make them participate and be more employed in the food systems, including agriculture. So I guess my question to you all is, how can we make food systems more inclusive for young people with disabilities that may be living in rural or urban areas? And I would be happy to hear your thoughts about it. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Anais. Yes, that's very important issue. While waiting for others colleagues to raise their hand or ask question in the chat, I would like to ask the opinion of our panelists here today. Can I go first to Cherry, please?
Yeah, thank you very much for that question. Good day, everyone. Good evening from my side in the Philippines. Thank you, Mr. Awal, for moderating, and Robin for the invitation. You know, this entire thing of really working with the youth, just to give you a bit of background, I started actually teaching farmers at the age of 12 years old. So I'm over youth now. It's been 24 years of my life since I started teaching farmers at 12. I educated myself to be an agri-scientist and agricultural economist, and now, you know, being a social entrepreneur. But at the same time, I have a nonprofit, the Agria Foundation, that partners with different embassies in the Philippines to basically do this program. So the video that we showed to you is actually one of the examples that a lot of the youth out there who actually graduated are working with PWDs in their communities. So the background of this youth, these are actually coming from Mindanao. So Philippines is divided, you know, we have 7,107 islands in the Philippines, but we're divided in 3 major regions. So Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao. And Mindanao is really like our food basket, but it's really like stricken always with war. And so many people there, especially the young ones or even mothers, they usually, like, because of the war, they become impaired or they become disabled, they become PWD. So most of this youth that actually started with our program, right now, each of them is usually grouped into 5 to create initiatives when they go back, and we give them a grant to start it. So some of them are helping PWDs, especially those who survived the war. especially after bombing sometimes. A lot of people are really totally impaired. So one initiative that I'm so proud to have is actually Marawi Siege. Marawi is always like, you know, the bombing siege in the Philippines that's happening. And the survivors, the PWD survivors are actually joining the campaign to go into farming, because for them, that's the easiest way. You know, they can just be there in the farm. They can do the seedling, the lighter, you know, the seeding or the sowing of seeds. They can also develop like a creation of organic fertilizer and pesticides. And they can also help in the marketing. So right now, where are we right now is basically those people who are physically impaired or disabled. We're trying to teach them in partnership with Facebook on digital marketing. So because somehow, of course, you cannot really put them on heavy job on the farm itself, but they can help market the produce. You know, and some of them right now, so we have partnership with Facebook happening, and this year we are training 2,500 youth for this digital marketing with Facebook. And second one is really helping them design. You know, I think in agriculture, as I heard a while ago, let's make it sexy, let's glamorize agriculture, right? So, but then sometimes when we sell our products in agriculture, it's not packaged very well. So a lot of this youth right now, we partner with Canva. Canva, of course, as you know, it's a very big design company globally. And the founder of Canva actually is a good friend of mine. She's half Filipina, half Australian. So we're also partnering with them on how to engage the youth in designing, you know, designing in two areas, designing like posters and programs and projects that could circulate on how to change the narrative of agriculture. And second one, design product packaging, you know, on what we can come up in different farming communities. It may be from women product of value addition, but at the same time, this youth or PWD, it cannot be youth, but mostly also we have women, PWD, and also men, survivor soldiers that we also work because of this endeavor. So that's how we kind of include them. So I think I answered too long, so I give the floor to other people. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sherry, for a good answer. And Virginia, do you want to?
Thank you very much. First, like for having me here and sharing. And I think that Sherry gave a brilliant answer. I was going to bring the the idea of like in so many places and in so many countries, like agriculture yet doesn't have a lot of marketing, like digital marketing development. And a lot of farmers that are doing a great work don't know yet how to share a narrative and to have like ownership and agency to share the narrative. And on that, like it's super important, like the inclusivity of those that are like physically disabled that can support in all these activities. And as you know, like from the video, like Farm of Francesco was born within a process that is called the Economy of Francesco, and that is divided in 12 working groups. And one of the working groups is working on inequalities. And there are many initiatives on like the inclusion of disabled people through marketing. So I think like something great that can be done there is like building the partnerships and like building the bridges by having them like supporting and doing things that a lot of farmers we are missing on the ground. So I think like, yeah, that would be my answer.
Thank you so much. Very interesting. And the last one, Mario, your view, please.
Thank you. So thank you for having me here and showcasing the case study. I work as a public researcher in Madrid and also the chair of the Youth Alliance for Zero Hunger. I was thinking on the question, and maybe one good entry point for young people with physical disabilities is recognizing the role of youth as agent of change on the consumption side and also on the production side, and this includes youth and youth with disabilities. And I think these voices are currently missing. So especially in mainstream channels as social media, in which I think World Food Forum, for instance, is doing a great job. I think if we give the voice to young people with disabilities who are already involved in food systems, we showcase their cases, and publicly recognize their work, I think this youngster will be able to inspire more young people with or without physical disabilities to get involved in food systems. And as most of youngsters are more prone to be influenced by other youth. And I think as well in the case study we sent to this webinar, I think we can also launch a public-private crowdfunding campaign to finance projects specifically focused on people with physical disabilities. So I believe that will foster and also give publicity to a lot of young people with disabilities that are already on the ground leading projects to make their food systems more sustainable. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mario. Now I have 3 hands up. I go first to David Dolan from Ireland. Please, David.
Hi everyone, David Dolan from Ireland. I'm a 2022 Nuffield Scholar. Just before I ask my question there, I noticed in the chat there is a few other Nuffield Scholars here, so I said I would just give an idea for people of what Nuffield is. It's a global, it's a leadership and agriculture organization. There's a few countries around the world that participate in it. Every year we give out, depending on the size of the country, 5 or 6 or maybe 10 scholarships in where we propose a study topic and we get a scholarship or a bursary to go and research the topic and present in our countries, hopefully bringing back best practice from other parts of the world. Just my question there to the panel is, congratulations on those initiatives, although the small holdings in Spain and the France for Francesco. My thoughts just on that, as these projects grow and the amount of food you're producing increases, how do you see the affordability of that food production system being? Is it going to be inherently more expensive, and so governments are going to have to foot some of the bill to allow that form of production to scale, or how do you see it going in the future?
Thank you, David. Very important issue. Now, let me collect all the intervention. Now let's go to Paula.
Yes, thank you. So also I would like to congratulate the panelists for presenting these really interesting case studies. And I'm happy to intervene because I'm one of the authors together with the project team of the HLP report on promoting youth engagement and employment. So it's fantastic also to see how now that the report was launched last year and the policy convergence process in CFS has started, how there's really taking up of the concept in policy and in the case studies, and how some of these recommendations are actually already a reality of many of your cases on the ground. As you probably know, in the report, the HLP recommended to base all actions to enhance youth engagement and employment on 4 pillars: the pillars of recognitions, agency, equity, and rights. And I can see from your cases that in your experience already, you do quite a lot to ensure that there is equity in the sense also of inclusions and ensuring access to resources and opportunities, and attention for human rights, recognitions of specific cities of youth and the role of youth, and ensuring that youth are empowered by increasing their agency to act. But my question therefore is not really how you can integrate these pillars, because you already do, but what can be your role, or what can be done to enhance a scaling up of these actions and the successful experience, so that more and more initiatives on the ground, businesses, and also in policy, there can be a higher attention to the specific characteristics of the specific pillars that focus on human rights. So to move a bit from an employment and livelihoods perspective only to a perspective that brings together livelihoods and employment with a human rights angle. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Paula, for the views. Now I have two hands. Hopefully, it will be short, and I think I will close the session with the two hands, and then we will hear the response from the panelists after that. Okay, Kelly, please.
Hello,
yes,
Kelly. Oh, sorry. My surname is Kelly. I got confused.
Oh, sorry, Kelly McTavish. I'm sorry. Yeah. sorry, Siobhan.
Confusion. Okay.
My apologies.
Okay, Kelly McTavish, Australia, Nuffield Scholar. Hello, David. Keeping it brief, I know the crisis, the need is now for people to enter agriculture, young people, but I asked the question to all the studies, and they were great and amazing work. What is youth? There is further studies coming out, and as we all know, that the plasticity of the brain and the formulation of your ideas and liking of agriculture starts before 10 years old. So is there stuff done in that space? And I just wonder about the age groups that the studies were done on, where the numbers were shown. So thank you very much, and I've really enjoyed it. I hope that was coherent.
Thank you, Kelly McTavish. Now I go to Siobhan, the last. Siobhan Kelly, please, Siobhan.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks very much. Yeah, I'd like to also thank all of the presenters. They were really fascinating and inspiring lessons to be learned from the cases. So my question relates to the consumption end. So we can see that there is this growth in producing in the practices related to sustainability that are more environmentally sensitive and socially sensitive. So from the UN Food Systems Summit, we heard about the importance of the consumer as a constituent in discussions around a transformation towards sustainable food systems. And so my question is to ask the presenters about the challenges that they face when trying to connect with the consumer, and maybe ideas that they'd have for policymakers as well. We have now generation X, Y, Z coming up. They're the new food consumer. They buy in a different way to way previous generations did. They're more value-based. And so how can the production and this type of new consumption be linked together so that sustainable food systems can move in the right direction? Over.
Thank you, Siobhan, for the opinion and views and questions. Now I'll turn to the panelists. Hopefully it will be short because time, conscious of the time. Let me go to Mario first. Mario, please.
Thank you for the question as well. I'm gonna try to reply all of them because I think most of them were very related. So one important point that I think it was raised is the fact, like, we think sometimes food system only in a productive way, only thinking on the economic pillar, as Libby was saying, that they are more expensive. Like local food eaten by youth can be more expensive. And I think we have to, and this is in line with the Food Systems Summit, we have to think out of the box. We have to recognize that our food systems are transversal topic that affects many areas. It's rural development, it's health, it's production, it's consumption. And we have to think as well, as COVID has shown us, that we need food systems that are resilient. And sometimes global system can be cheaper, the local food system can be resilient and really enhance food security at the regional level when we have big disruption that affect. So I think it's so important to boost these sort of food supply chains as an entry point for youth in agricultural. As well, I would like to add, replying to Siobhan Kelly, about the importance of consumer as a constituency. Once again, we have to recognize and take advantage of the role of youth as an agent of change. That's to say, I believe one influencer on social media can have much more impact in shifting, what do you call it? Shifting dietary, like the way people consume food and think food. It can be 10 times more, having 10 times more impact that 10 campaigns, public campaigns to raise awareness about food, local food, ecological food. So I think we really have to take advantage of youth as agents of change in the production and also in the consumption, and look for allies that can really shift the way young people and population in general think about food. Thank you.
Thank you. Maria, your views?
Thank you very much. And connected with what Mario was saying, like, I think that what is important, like, for us right now is to, as young people in particular, is to understand that the models that we are building from agriculture and in agriculture need to be created by design in a systemic way, which means that, like, stop like thinking in a way of the different sectors and also in different generations. And I think, like, if we move from thinking that there are like only specific solutions to solve like certain challenges that we have, into understanding that everything is connected and we can do many things if we work as farmers with consumers, as farmers with the business sector, so then like solutions will come. And I think because of that, then we can think in an agriculture that, like, instead of like scaling the problems or scaling the solutions, we can replicate in the local territories the solutions. And this related with what the discussions were bringing, is the concepts of building replicable models and bringing models that work together with the local communities, that are able to understand like the local community needs, what the ecosystem is telling us, and from that being able to build the farms or build the models. And then when I found super interesting Kelly's question on the age, because like in farming and talking with farmers, like you can see many people that grew up like having a very formal career, that, like, for instance, I know a lot of lawyers that have turned into agriculture as they were growing up. And like they were saying that this fire started when they were young, but then they decided to really say yes to that growing up. So I think that it's not a matter of age. It's a matter of how we follow what we are feeling, and also how do we connect that with the young people and with those that are older. So yeah, I would like bring the concept of holistic systemic solutions, solutions that are replicable and not scalable, and solutions that come from the ground and are working with the local communities.
Thank you, Maria. Now let's hear from Cherry, please.
Thank you so much. I'll start with a comment of Paula on the human rights. I think we're always like knowing that food is human right? But I think because of the food systems, we need to change that nutritious food is human right. It's not anymore food, because if it's just, food, you can just call anything food, right? But it needs to be nutritious food is a human right. And because of that, another one to connect to that is the power of choice, where the consumers right now are so young. I'm coming from Asia. We have 680 million people in Southeast Asia, for example. If I include India and China, that's another level of population we're talking about. But the average age of people in Asia is actually 21 to 24 years old. So that's a very, very strong power of changing the game on how these young people right now are actually working on how can I have access to healthy food? How can I eat, a nutritious meal how can I support local farmers? How can I be part of climate change? And some of them, if they want to be part of climate change, they have a power of choice in their selection, in their choices of what they want to intake, what they want to consume. So the tower alone, it needs to be ignited. And then another one is, I'll go back to the comment of David a while ago. Of course, production cost is very expensive right now. Everything is becoming so high. But at the same time, what is really the true value of cost, right? If we factor in all externalities, the value of our environment, the value of the people, if they're paid decent, the farmers and the supply chain, if there are, if the trading system is perfect, what's really the true value of food? I will not call food cheap, because if you call food cheap, it's junk food. I will call food affordable, because if it's affordable, it means we're trying to make sure that consumers can avail it. But at the same time, we factor in the environment cost. The people are paid with fair trade and proper, a value, and dignified. In Agria, we call it ecology of dignity. How do you really dignify the entire people in the food value chain, from the producers to the consumers? And lastly, I love the comment of Kelly. What is really youth, right? I started teaching farmers at 12, but I started reading a book at 11. But my exposure started really at 6 years old, because I grew up in a sugarcane farm, and I could see that why the sugarcane millers and the sugarcane owners are so rich, and people here in the farm are struggling in poverty. So with that kind of notion, it planted in me. And you're so right, Kelly. We need to start educating the young ones. So if I can live longer, I'll go to the really, really little ones. And but it's so I'm so happy that all of this, we're working together. And lastly, my point is, go back to Paula a while ago. How do we scale it? We need to do country level intervention as much as we do globally, but country level intervention is necessary. In the Philippines, we're putting up a lot of policies right now, how to have youth and gender inclusion in agriculture. That's part of the UN Food Systems Action Tracks. If we factor what are those, the things that we need to do. So if we need to put it in a country level, somehow it will trickle. And it needs to be top bottom, and a meeting up of top bottom and also bottom up, so that it can happen. Thank you so much.
Maraming salamat for the excellent views, Cherry. Now, colleagues, friends, I think we have come to the end of our second panel. Thank you so much for the views and opinions are given. I think it's very inspirational. But before we conclude, we are going to have the final stage of our conversation today. In that regard, I want to get concrete policy recommendations from all panelists that are here today. I have to put spotlight on all of you. I'm very sorry on this one, but I have to ask, what is one policy we could create that would help young people start farming, get jobs, or start businesses in the food system? I hope you can answer this in less than 60 seconds, if possible. All right. Who wants to go first?
Can I go first?
Yes, Cherry.
I think unlocking investments for the youth in the agriculture sector. And then after unlocking the business, it goes through mentorship and exposure to successful agripreneurs. And also, create an ecosystem that they will thrive together with NGOs, academia that will do R&D. But money fuels change, right? And most of the time, youth, they have all the ideas, but they don't have the resources. So for me, unlocking investment is one.
Great, investment. Now, the second, who wants to take the turn? Can I go to Silke, please?
Yeah, thank you. And thank you for this session. And also latching on to what Cherry said, I believe that policy making could be done through two things: education and fundings for youth-led movements in particular. education is super important, also as Siobhan Kelly said, and by showing young people where food comes from, and by showing them how great this whole world is behind the supermarket and behind the things that you get out of the supermarket, I think you would really get like young people excited and probably grateful also for the food that we consume daily, and which would also help in like getting more young people excited in pursuing a job in agriculture. And I believe that funding for youth-led movements is especially important, as there are currently lots of great regional and international grassroots promoting agriculture and food systems. However, these are often not like run by young people who spend all their like free time and invest so much in working for this cause, or to be invented like events like this or other events. But often at places they are like the mindset is that young people should just be happy that they get invited to promote their cause. But I think we should be like extremely happy that these movements exist in order to show, and in order to show this, I think that funding is crucial for these young youth-led movements, to show them that we take them seriously, but also to give chances for young people who don't have the resources to spend hours on voluntarily promoting agriculture to young people.
Thank you. Education and funding. Okay, now who wants to take the floor?
I'm happy.
Mario.
Okay.
Okay. Mario.
Okay, sorry. I think I'm gonna continue in Spanish actually. I forgot we have interpretation services, so we take advantage. Estoy de acuerdo totalmente con lo que ha dicho Silke.
I completely agree on what Silke has said.
Sorry, I have to turn off because I hear him. No. Estoy de acuerdo con lo que Silke ha dicho.
I agree with Silke. I will focus on our case study, the match funding and crowdfunding campaigns. I believe this is very good for young entrepreneurs to access funding. And we can see this on the report as well. I hope regional municipalities can organize open calls for specific projects and programs. I hope there are young disabled people that can be part of these programs. And if those projects reach a minimum amount of funds and donors, maybe we can match that amount. And this will allow many young farmers and people that want to achieve change in their regions to get the funding they need. And at the same time, the business will work, it will be affordable, they will achieve support in the community, they will build alliances for future projects. I believe this tool can be very useful on a local level, and it can be very useful for regional governments that want to support agricultural development. This is something we see in Europe sometimes. Public funding systems require bureaucracy, lots of paperwork, and producers don't have time, not even to go on holiday. So imagine if they need to make all of these requests. Sometimes they don't have support in the community. They have projects that are very well presented, but these projects are not really what the community needs. So I agree on what Silke said. Thank you.
Crowdfunding is so important. Thank you. Muchas gracias, Mario. Maria.
Thank
please.
you. So for me, like policy, like to support the creation of a global community of farmers, by building specific programs that are engaging young farmers, that are newcomer farmers that are facing so many challenges, with elder farmers that want to retire and don't know how to go and transition this process, and doing an initiative so that is intergenerational, but also intersectoral. So like being able to create initiatives by design that are done together with the public sector, with businesses and with academics. So, so for me, like this would be like the policy, specific initiatives, intergenerational, intersectoral.
Thank you, Maria. Now, last but not least, 4H Association.
Our government started to give some money to young farmers who is just start farming. That was quite effective for young farmers. And also I think that farmers should cooperate with education. So they learn and also they support it. Yeah, I think.
Thank you so much. Now, we get to the very end of our meeting today. I thank you so much again to all panelists for their very insightful presentations as well as views and opinions. Hopefully, we can all ideas that come from this webinar can inspire us to work together, not only among the youth, but also intergenerational, not only from the youth, but also from those who are a bit older than the youth. Okay, with that, I would like to give the floor to Ms. Nele Herman Valente to bring closing thanks. Nele, thank you.
Thank you so much, dear Mr. Awal. And thank you actually to all of the participants of this highly informative and important dialogue. I can really say what a thriving discussion about inclusion, how to reach and engage young farmers, learn what the next generation really wants and needs, how to make agriculture attractive to young people and include consumers in the transformation of food systems. Honestly, we covered so much ground here today. Please keep it up. So my name is Nele Herman Valente, and I lead Bayer Crop Science's Next Generation of Agricultural Leaders efforts. On behalf of the entire private sector mechanism, we encourage you all to engage in CFS, whether member states, civil society, research, or private sector. We need all actors working together to advance global food security. And the effective voices of those who are young now are crucial for defining future-proof strategies for sustainable agriculture. We hope you will consider the private sector a partner. At Bayer, we have long promoted youth engagement, and since 2013, we have provided global youth advocates with opportunities to learn, network, and engage for concrete impact at our own YouthAg Summit. Last year, then, we took the next step and initiated the new Next Gen Ag Impact Network, short ENGINE, together in a coalition of 17 founding partners. And today I'm happy to be speaking to you as chair of the ENGINE board. ENGINE lives up to UN Sustainable Development Goal 17, Partnerships for the Goals, and creates a new global forum with young people that sets out to increase the attractiveness of agriculture for future generations in all sustainability pillars, economic, ecological, and social. The coalition partners, some of whom are actually on this very call, co-create with one vote each to bring opportunities to young people that match their needs. And we do so across sectors, including, most importantly, including youth movements and associations, then NGOs, think tanks, farmers organizations, the academic sector, international organizations, and the private sector. To give you just one example, when youth across the globe raised interest in learning more on how to raise their voices effectively at UN fora, we offered open access training sessions this April to facilitate for their upskilling. A couple of our participants today I see on this call. And that was just the beginning. Please have a look at the website. I put it on the chat, and maybe Emerging Ag will put it on the chat as well, to find out more and sign up in the stay tuned section on the website so we can listen to you include you and channel opportunities your way, and to also actually get you involved. So if you are willing to engage, please raise your voice. There's so much good happening already, and yet I feel we need to strengthen partnerships for impact on the ground. And this has been mentioned on the call today as well. We must continue sharing our experiences and learning from each other to accelerate actions for youth and give young people a voice directly into decision-making. Because it is actually you who are young today who will be the leaders of the future. And it will be you who will be most affected by the decisions taken today. So please ensure to make yourself heard. Let's coordinate our work, bringing each of our efforts to young people around the world. Youth need a full suite of fair access, from land to water, to nutrition, to technology, to finance, to power. Now, with this said, thank you to all the people who made this event possible. You are indeed giving young people the space they critically need and deserve. First, thank you to Mr. Minister Councillor Chaka Aval for leading us through this session so expertly. We appreciate Chairman Ferrero, CFS Secretary Hegadorn, and the Ambassador of Switzerland for the guidance of CFS on this important topic of youth in agriculture. We were also gifted so many excellent leaders on the topic of youth empowerment. So many thanks to all our panelists, as well as our very attentive audience. Your case studies and the conversations really were inspiring. Please join us also for the Global Roundtable held virtually tomorrow, May 26th at 2 p.m. Central European Time, where we will be focusing on the outcomes from all the regional dialogues and the path forward to advance youth in our food system. It was a pleasure to have you all join us today, and best of luck with your work on the ground. Thank you.